Hi everybody, welcome to my week 1 Inktober drawings. I decided that I would compile all of my Inktober drawings from each week into one video so I didn't have to be posting a video every single day. I did miss a couple of video recordings at the end because I'm currently visiting my family and I forgot to bring my camera battery charger, but I still have photos of them, so that's fine. The first day here, which was day 2 of Inktober, is Divided Summon Day. I decided that I would do people standing around some sort of a broken table summoning some kind of creepy demon, but he ended up looking a lot more cute than creepy. I definitely was influenced by the 1930s and 40s style animation drawings because of video games that I've been seeing a lot of recently, like Cuphead and Bendy and the Ink Machine, so I did this sort of pie-shaped eyes for this little demon character. This was actually a pretty easy card for me to put together because I just saw it in my head and drew it out, but in the next card and in a couple of the other ones you'll see me doing some thumbnails, and I think I might want to do that for more of these. I know that drawing thumbnails for actual pieces of artwork that I'm working on is always a really good idea because it gets out all the bad ideas and it kind of helps me figure out the composition before I start putting it down onto the actual piece of paper for the final. But this one kind of flowed out pretty easily. I saw it in my head, I drew it out, it turned out well, I was happy with it. I usually put a little bit of a white outline around my characters when there's going to be a really dark background because it helps them to pop out a little bit more and separates them. I've seen this done by other comic artists also. I don't know exactly why that's something that we do or even why it works, but it does work, so I will continue to do that. In this case, I made it look a little bit more jagged, so it's almost like fire or little spirit wisps or something, but it looked neat. I don't think I always have to have a particular reason for why I do things as long as it looks good. And here's my finished Divided Summon Day. I kind of figured at this point that I should write the year and the days on my little chalkboard on the side there. And now we'll jump right into day 3, which was Poison Tunes Day. For this day I decided that I really needed to work out some thumbnails because I did not know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to sort of go with a snake tomb theme because I was inspired by the story of Antony and Cleopatra, but I didn't know how I wanted it to look, so you can see me here drawing out a bunch of really tiny little thumbnails, trying to figure out the composition that I wanted, trying to figure out the idea that I wanted to follow. I ended up doing about 6 thumbnails. I do this when I'm working on professional work too, except I'll do maybe 50 thumbnails for a concept to make sure that I work out all the really terrible ideas first. I only did 6 here though, and the 4th one was the one that I ended up choosing. I liked the way that the snake mouth and the sarcophagus kind of looked the same and decided that I would mash them together into this illustration. I've been using the Pentel Artist Brush Pen for all of these cards so far, and I really do like that pen. And it does make very tiny, thin lines, but it's harder to control them, so I was having a little bit of trouble inside of the snake's mouth here, trying to figure out how to get the details in without making them look mushy or too thick. So once I got to the background and I knew that I wanted something a more textural and a little bit lighter, I decided to move to a Faber-Castell Pitt pen instead. So this is, I think, the extra small size. Then I took a plain old gel pen and added a little bit more distinction to the snake's face, and then added some scales onto the background body of the snake. I do like going back and forth between black and white inks because it allows me to do effects like this that would be a lot harder if I was just trying to straight up draw in all of these little white tiny lines by drawing around them with the black ink. Kind of go back, thicken up some lines, make sure that the things pop out that I want to pop out. You thought I was finished there, didn't you? And then I kept going. This is how it always goes. I always see one more thing that I want to do. Eventually I have to just make myself stop, or I end up ruining pieces of artwork by just overworking them. But here we go. I finally finished it, and this is what it looks like. I'm pretty pleased with the idea and the composition of this one, and I do think I maybe put too many textures throughout the whole thing, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. I may actually want to turn this into a final illustration at some point because I do like the concept so much. Now for day 4, that was Underwater, Pumpkin Wicked This Way Comes. You can see on my arms I have little glitter tattoos that I got from Target. I went in there and I was so excited at all the Halloween stuff that they had, and it put me into a super Halloweeny mood. I think that plus Inktober is making this month feel like all month is Halloween. I started drawing this one. I was pretty clear about what I wanted, but as you can see I was a little bit unsure what I wanted to do with the composition with the darks and lights, so I went into my notebook again. I did some little thumbnails, just a couple this time, and that helped me solidify more in my head where I wanted the dark and light parts of the illustration to be. I think I was doing this one in the morning before work. Yeah, because I can see the light on my hand. I remember that was bothering me because it didn't look like the rest of the videos. But I wanted to get this one finished so I could post it on social media in the morning. So I almost felt like I rushed through it, but at the same time, because this image has actually really been in my head since I first read the prompts before Inktober even started, I was pretty quick getting it done. So it wasn't a huge problem. You can see I go back here and I start doing some hatching using the Pitt pen again. I do love working with just black and white ink for drawings, but it's helpful to have hatching, some kind of tone to bring things out. I feel like if the pumpkin had been darker than this, then it would have blended in with the background too much, and if it had been lighter than this, it would have blended in with the moon too much. So compositionally, being able to have that third middle shade really helped the entire piece to look a lot better than it would have. And here's the finished piece. You can see some little stars I added in the sky with the gel pen. Now for day 5, which was Long Full Moon Follies. This was another one that I pretty much knew what I was going to draw from the moment that I read the prompt name. When I saw full moon and long together, I figured that since the moon is so bright, it would cast some very long shadows. Something I wasn't sure about though was where exactly the light source was going to be. You can see me sort of pausing here and trying to figure out, do I just want the moon, or do I want them to be dancing around a campfire, or what? Ultimately, I decided to just use the moon, since the moon is the main character of this illustration, and I do think that it turned out better that way. The composition ended up being fairly similar to the one from the day before with the pumpkin, because it has this giant moon up at the top and sort of the shadows around it, and then more of a mid-tone in the center. But that's fine. There are plenty more days for me to play with lots of different other compositions. I did realize around this moment that I had drawn dark trees against a dark background, but you'll see in a minute once I actually fill in the rest of the sky that having that white outline that I mentioned before around the trees helps them to pop out and still be really visible against the dark sky, but I still get that composition with the dark blackness sort of surrounding the moon, which I really liked. And there are the long shadows. The ground here looked a little bit too plain, so I ended up drawing some more shadows on the ground, which only makes sense because the ground's not going to be a flat plane. It's going to have rocks, it's going to have bumps and things in it. Ultimately, it's not the same as with the pumpkin, where I used the tiny pit pen to add the mid-tone, but because I sort of modeled the ground with different darks and lights all together, it gives the feeling of sort of having a mid-tone there. And it's done. I was happy with how this one came out too. I'm really enjoying how creative doing something like Inktober makes me. It sort of forces me to think a little bit differently than just when I'm working on things by myself. Now for these next 2 days, my battery ran out and I was visiting my family, so I could not recharge the battery in my camera. But here is Sword Folklore Friday, where I chose to do the Lady of the Lake holding up Excalibur, and Shy Cobweb Crawlers, where I drew a little shy spider hiding under a leaf. And that's pretty much it for these days. I will continue recording all of the cards that I make, putting them into more videos. If you want to see more of that, please like, please subscribe, please comment, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye!